Hey there, emerging expat. You're tuned in to Let's Move to Portugal. I'm Victoria from Expats Everywhere's podcast, and I have the distinct honor of bringing you, YouTube travelers, and our resident of Portugal experts, Expats Everywhere's Josh and Kaylee. Each week they'll inspire, they'll educate, and they'll accompany you on your journey to Portuguese residency. This week on Let's Move to Portugal, Aimee shares her sunny expat life in the Algarve, exploring remote work freedom, hidden beaches, seasonal vibes, and the ins and outs of settling in Portimão.
Hey expats and travelers alike, welcome back to the Expats Everywhere presents Let's Move to Portugal podcast. Kaylee, how you doing?
I am doing well. How are you doing?
I am slightly under the weather, but not completely under the weather. And the weather's been nice.
The weather's been really good in Porto.
First of all, if you are new here, welcome. We would like to welcome you to this podcast and let you know the format of this podcast. We start out with the lovely Victoria giving us an introduction. We slide into this part that we call the weekly welcome, and then we get into the main event of the evening, morning, whenever you're listening to this, which is an interview or a special topic. But today is an interview with an expat named Aimee. Kaylee did the interview. But we like to give you kind of a rundown on what's been happening in the world of expats everywhere before we get into that. If you're watching on YouTube, we have a YouTube channel dedicated for this podcast. You can skip ahead. We've added chapters. But we do like to connect with you and let you know what's happening in our world. And then we check out your comments or your emails to see what's happening in your world and how we can help you by adding stuff to this podcast. So if you're listening audio only, you can skip ahead. Just hit that like 15-second button or 30-second skip button and jump ahead. Usually the thing gets going about 10 minutes in. So what's going on in the world of Portugal immigration?
Portugal immigration. Not too much right now. I think it's kind of hard
It's
to
been
do.
slow.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do like a weekly update on this. I feel like we talk about it every week, and it's like nothing big to report, I would say, on this one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to ask you that every week.
I know.
Just in case something does pop up. But yeah, it's been slow. And I think slow in this regard is a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's so true. We do talk about how a lot of things are slow here, but maybe slow in changes is definitely a good thing. But yeah, it is still slow, obviously, with processing and everything. And it's actually only going to get a little worse because we're heading into holiday season.
Yes.
So by the end of November, it'll be pretty bad, especially if you're American, because we hit the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday. And then the beginning of December, there's 2 big holidays here. And then, of course, we hit Christmas and New Year. So just less people working, more holiday time. So it will slow down. So I would say if you're looking to come, like if you want to apply soon, because you're looking to come like in January, February, March, you should already have that appointment because we're already in November, which is kind of crazy. Already in November.
It is crazy. Beginning in November, just before the election. Actually, when this video goes out tomorrow, it'll be election day, November 5th.
It has nothing to do with that.
We will not know the results. We did just put out a video on the main YouTube channel of places that people can go. Actually, first of all, we wanted to answer the question, like, a lot of people say, if X Canada wins the election, I'm moving, that's it, I'm out of here. Now, the data shows inconclusively that people don't necessarily move on a whim just because of that. And they definitely don't move quickly because it's tricky to move quickly.
Yeah, if you haven't already kind of planned it out and put the wheels in motion, once whoever's elected is elected, you still have time to get everything together if your plan is to move right after. So it is a slow thing.
Yeah. And the point of that video was basically to illustrate how long it took to move to the most popular places that Americans move to. So we're looking at Mexico first, then Canada, and then a variety of countries in the EU.
Yeah.
There are other popular countries to move to, but we highlighted those because those are the ones that are where Americans are now, but then also where people are interested in moving in terms of like when you do a Google Trend search on where Americans are moving.
Yeah, the ease of it, the proximity generally to the U.S. That's why I would say Mexico and Canada. So there's
similarities to
perks.
culture.
Yeah, there's a lot of perks. But I would say that video is not political or anything. So no matter what you think politically, that has nothing to do with that. It's just kind of like if you're thinking about moving now, here are some options for you that are outside of Portugal and outside of the EU even.
Yeah. I mean, as expats everywhere, we're apolitical. as a channel.
We like to highlight everywhere. We do a lot about Portugal, obviously, because we live here. There's a lot of interest, but we do also want to explore more options of places, whether that's for moving or visiting. So that's why we also do things about everywhere.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. So any updates then on the building project?
Well, that's probably a question for you. I mean, we do have updates. I think if you're watching the Let's Get Building channel, then there's been a video that's recently gone out. I think you're already kind of working on another one because we have the content. So we're moving ahead on there. But no, things are moving ahead. Unfortunately, you just went and I could not go because our daughter is sick. So I haven't seen it. You saw it recently. Do you want to give any sneak peeks?
I would say like from when I saw it 2 weeks ago or almost 3 weeks ago now to today, not today, but when did
this past weekend?
Sunday. Not a whole lot has changed. Like it wasn't a drastic change.
Okay. Like
the last 2 week interval visit. So this one, it seemed like more was being done in the infrastructure down in the basement, and just getting to see all that. But yeah, not a massive amount of change. I thought there would be more. So I got to find out what's up. I have a meeting on Tuesday. So today, for the listener.
Yeah.
So I have a meeting that we're going to discuss kind of what, if any, roadblocks they've hit and what those were and why they have not hit the target that they had hoped to hit this week. So I'm going to find out about that and get people updated on the videos.
Yep. All right. So before we get to chatting with Aimee, who's down in Algarve, I wanted to highlight, because we just had Halloween here. So some of you have asked, like, do they celebrate Halloween and what's that like? So it seems like it's picking up steam.
Yes.
You'll see some places will have, definitely costume shops will be busy, but like some places will also have like decor and everything. And there are little Halloween parties and people do set up little trick-or-treating things, but it's kind of hit or miss on whether someone trick-or-treats or not. So we decided to go to a friend's neighborhood who has, they're like little houses. So it's like a perfect little setting because it's a quiet neighborhood. And what was funny is, I think the symbol in the US is if you have candy, your light's on, if you don't, your light's off. That symbol didn't seem to exist in this neighborhood because the kids were kind of running around. There were just a few of them. And then every once in a while, someone would pop their head out at a dark house and be like, we have candy. And we're like, oh, we need to go back. Go there.
Well, the other thing that I found really humorous is that they were really slow to answer the door.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
really
you ring the doorbell and wait and be like, okay. And then the kids would walk off.
Yeah.
And then the door would open. Be like, come back.
Like, I remember growing up, when I had to hand out the candy, when I was a little older, but before I went out to hand to do my own trick-or-treating, I would be very close to the door and have like the candy bowl sitting obviously close to the door in a chair or something.
Yeah.
So like as soon as I heard a knocker ring, like I would get to the door really fast.
But it's more frequent, I think, too. Since trick-or-treating is not as big of a thing here, it's a bit more sporadic. So maybe people have candy, but they're doing their own thing, and then it could be an hour later that the doorbell rings. So they're like, oh, okay, now I need to go.
That's true.
So it's kind of something, but it's not as big as the U.S. But there was a little something, which is nice.
Now the cool thing is that we ended up going to another friend's house in the kind of same neighborhood that lived in a rather large new, I would say multicultural, multinational apartment building. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many units there are, maybe 100, maybe 100 units, at least in that wing. And we would go like floor by floor, door to door, seeing if the person had decorations. And then if they did, we would knock. And some people actually just put candy out.
Okay, they probably were out for something, right?
Yeah, actually, Kaylee didn't go with me as I took the kids around. No,
I made it up to our friend's house because they had run out of candy, so I brought them candy to give when the girls arrived, so that the girls. That was a smart
idea, by the way. Really smart idea. But no, like we would go to a floor, and some of the floors would have a chair sitting out with a bowl of candy. So then the kids would just walk up, take one or two pieces, and then be on their way.
Yeah, I would say there were 3 girls that were trick-or-treating. One loves the candy. One doesn't eat candy at all. And then ours is kind of in the middle. She eats some candy, but I think the thrill of trick-or-treating was what she liked most.
For sure.
So she's got all this candy, and she's barely had any of it, which is fine.
Yeah.
Every once in a while she asks for one, but like it's kind of funny. She liked the trick-or-treating trick-or-treating aspect more than the candy.
Well, I thought it was really hilarious when we rocked up to one of like the little houses, and this very old cute man stepped out, and he handed the girls Portuguese pastries. And one of them was a bolo de arroz, which is a muffin.
Looks like a muffin. Yeah.
Like a muffin. Uh-huh. And then at the end of the night, we're getting out of the vehicle, getting Sia like back to bed or whatever, or taking her home to get to
so
bed.
We were trying to hurry.
And Sia's trick or treat pail, bucket, bag, whatever, fell, and out rolls
rolled out.
Yeah, the bolo de arroz
Onto the ground.
Then the next morning, I asked Sia what her favorite thing that she got was, and she said the bolo de arroz.
Which she never eats though. So I was like, obviously I was like wide-eyed, like, oh dang it, that thing got tossed because it hit the ground last night. So Josh,
it hit the ground like top down.
Yes.
It was bad.
Yeah. So I was like, oh no, Josh. And so he ran to the pastry shop and picked one up, which she only ate some of it, which is to be expected. But like, I was like, what? She never even asked for those. Anyway, so then the day after Halloween is All Saints Day here, which is a bank holiday. So no school and everyone's off. So it's a nice 3-day weekend. And the weather was so great in Porto. So people were out for the weekend, enjoying the weather and enjoying the 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
So it was good.
Weather's been phenomenal. We really appreciate it. We hope that it keeps up at this temperature and lack of rain.
Yeah.
So Kaylee, tell us about Aimee.
Aimee, yes. So this was a good one. She's from South Africa and she's been living in Algarve, specifically in Portimão. So this is fun because we get a different city. I don't think we've had anyone on from Portimão in quite a while.
Okay.
So she talks about that. She's younger, but she talks about how tourism does pick up in the summers and it can be a little quieter in the winters, but during the summer there's still in Portimão hidden gems that tourists don't go to that can still feel quiet. So if you want the buzz, you can have the buzz, and if you don't, you can get away from it. So I thought it was really interesting to hear about.
Okay, but she let the cat out of the bag on like where these little hidden gems are?
Oh, okay. No.
Good.
I don't remember actually her saying anything like specific names of cafes or something. So yeah, that's probably good. But I think that she just wanted to make it aware that those areas do exist. So don't, if you're thinking, I want beach but not too crazy, then you can still consider Portimão as a place. Because we've only been there in the summer. Yeah. So we've only seen kind of the craziness of it.
And it was truly for tourism.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was fine for us.
We were one of those.
Yeah.
But this
one of those millions.
This was back when Portugal was a hidden gem in and of itself. Like,
that's
not
true.
Not many people from the States were visiting.
No, but I mean, Algarve has been known from like Brits and other European countries.
Yes,
so like
absolutely.
It's always, and other Portuguese, cities as well. Like for the summer, it gets really busy because people go there. So now more Americans know about it, but before it was just other European countries.
Nice.
That were going.
Well, I'm looking forward to listening to it. We ready to go?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it. All right, before we get started, I would like to talk about this week's sponsor, Green Ocean Global Advisors.
Right. We always recommend, no matter where you are in your moving process, to get your finances in order because it's important to see what finances look like at home, in your home country, and then wherever you're moving to.
And speaking about home, what if you sell your home before moving or do it after? Well, a financial advisor will be able to guide you in this process and let you know what some of the capital gains might be like on the sale of that property.
Or what about distributions? Maybe you have a 401k or pension, and so how much do you really need to live in your new country, your new lifestyle, right?
That's exactly right. And John with Green Ocean Global Advisors is willing to meet with you to talk to you about your plan. He's actually given us a dedicated link for a free 15-minute consultation. John, thank you for that. So that you can meet with him and ask him whatever questions have popped into your mind and see if he's the right fit for someone that you would like to work with.
Now on to the show. Aimee, thanks so much for joining me today. Let's chat a little bit about where you moved from, where you're living in Portugal, and how long you've been here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I am from Cape Town in South Africa, and I moved to Portugal in September 2022. I've been really loving it ever since then.
Where do you live in Portugal?
I live in the Algarve. I live in Portimão.
Okay, and you've been there the whole time in Portimão?
Yeah, beautifully sunny, amazing weather all year round, and so happy here.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit about Portimão in a minute, but I want to know, how come you left Cape Town?
Yeah, so safety in South Africa was a really big factor for me, a top priority for me. And Portugal is one of the safest countries in the world, and that really gave me a lot of peace of mind when deciding to move here. I knew that I really wanted a place where I could feel really safe and really secure. And then when it came to the weather, there are loads of safe countries in Europe, but as a South African, we love the sun. So we couldn't picture ourselves living anywhere else except in a place where we have constant sunshine. And here in the south of Portugal, we have 300 days of sunshine. So that was a huge selling point for us. And I also have Portuguese heritage. So that had like an emotionally fulfilling connection to coming here to Portugal.
Okay. Had you been to Portugal like on a visit before, or you just moved here without knowing?
Yeah, I had been on a visit in 2018 and went kind of all across Portugal. I was in the north and went to Lisbon and came down to the south. And the south is where I really felt super connected.
Okay. So you're back in Cape Town. You feel like it's time for a change. You know Portugal is the place. Do you work remotely? How did you make that happen?
Yeah, so I've been working fully remotely since 2020, and working remotely allowed me the flexibility to choose where I wanted to live. I knew I wanted to leave South Africa, and Portugal was just such an attractive option. So yeah, I had the opportunity to work fully remotely and move here.
Okay, and now you help people do the same thing, right? Because I think a lot of people want to move and they're still, they can work, they're still young enough to work or they need to work, but they're like, I don't have a remote job, I don't know what to do, but I want to live somewhere out of my home country. So how do I make that happen? And you help with that, right?
Yeah. So in my business, I help people find remote work that they really enjoy. And I have a very special connection to a lot of expats because it's something that's such an important part of being an expat where you're considering, what opportunities you might have in the new country that you're looking at. So yeah, I help people find remote work that they enjoy and that they can be able to work and have the freedom to work from anywhere and uh, be able to earn money in whichever currency they pick.
Okay, but that's really great. You said the word freedom, right? And I think that a lot of people, when they move from their home country, they're looking for that freedom, but the job always feels like it ties them down. Or like money, right? I need money, obviously, to live. And so that ties them down. So you allow people to find something that works, something that makes them happy with their jobs, but then also gives them the freedom to explore the new country that they live in, right?
Yeah, 100%. So remote work is really, it equals freedom. And it's very important for expats or for anyone looking to leave their home country because the level of flexibility and freedom that you get from remote work is something that you can't compare to a traditional in-office job. You're not tied to any specific location, which means you can live really anywhere in the world you decide. Where I see a lot of expats will try to move and they want to work, so they want to live closer to the city, but if you can work fully remotely you can really live wherever you want.
Yeah, that's also a really good point because cities offer a lot of job opportunities, but if you're working remotely, then you can live wherever. So if you don't want to live in a city, you don't have to, as opposed to being forced to because of your job.
Yeah, 100%. And I think remote work is also really important for people that have maybe disabilities or they have extra responsibilities, like maybe they're caring for aging parents or they've got kids, maybe they have a chronic illness, people that really need a flexible schedule, being able to have that time to manage your work in your own way around your personal life is such a game changer.
So it's flexibility and freedom altogether.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
that's amazing. Okay, so if anyone wants to know about that, then we'll put the information and getting in touch with you in the description and show notes so they can contact you for remote work options. But let's chat about your personal experience. You decided Portimão, you mentioned because of the weather. And so how is that working out for you? It's like been a couple of years. Are you getting all the sunshine that you thought you'd be getting?
Yeah, we really are just getting nonstop sunshine, and I've really been enjoying it. There's an amazing digital nomad community here in Portimão. Really, a large group of people that have come here and decided to make Portimão and the Algarve their home. And it's in the summer it gets really busy and really crazy, but it's so much fun. And then in the winter we have the whole of the Algarve all to ourselves, and we really just soak up every minute of the sun. And it's just such a beautiful place to live.
Okay, let's unpack a little bit the two, main seasons, I guess, summer and winter, because sometimes people are concerned like that it's going to be too busy and too hot in the summers, and then it's going to be dead in the winters. But it seems like you like it. So let's talk about the summer first. Is it crazy with tourists and people visiting in the summer?
Yes, it is crazy. I think the population, specifically in Portimão, triples. So it does get really busy. But I think that the council in Portimão has done a really great way of managing that kind of population increase. And we have some really cool festivals that happen in the Algarve in the summertime. So people are much more spread out than I think people that haven't been here get concerned by. And because there's so many different beaches and so many different options of places to go and things to see, people are much more spread out, and you can still find a beautiful hidden gem beach where it's not super overcrowded if you prefer that, or you can go to a beach where it's more vibey and there's more fun. So yeah, there's really something for everyone in the summertime.
Okay, I won't make you say the hidden gem beaches because then it'll be out there, and that won't be as good for those who want a little peace and quiet out on the beach. But that's good to see that there are options. And what about the weather in the summer? Does it get like blazing hot like a lot of people say?
Yes, it does get really hot. I will be frank on that one. It does. It's usually in about the 30 degrees Celsius range, like up to 37 sometimes. So it does get pretty hot. If you are lucky enough to have an aircon, it's really a game changer. But the way that the houses and apartments are built, they are built to consider the fact that it does get really hot in the summer. So I find that my apartment stays pretty cool in the summer in any case. And I've heard the same from a lot of people that live here. So yeah.
Okay, so do a lot of people not have air conditioning? Is it just like the new builds down there, or what's the deal with air conditioning?
Yeah, I would say the new builds will have air conditioning, and some of the older buildings, if people install it and they're using it as an Airbnb, then they will have air conditioning. But I would say it's not actually very common here. Same in South Africa, like with having aircon, even though it's a really hot place, isn't like very common practice. But as in newer builds, they do tend to have aircon.
They add that in, that little luxury, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah.
So then do
Exactly.
you just use fans? I mean, does your apartment have good airflow so you can open windows and everything, and that seems to be sufficient?
Yeah, I had air cons installed after my first summer here, but that's because I have a long-haired cat, and I was concerned that in the summer he was getting a little bit too hot. But yeah, I have pretty good airflow in my apartment. We've got fans in every room. The apartment is tiled, so it stays really cool as well.
Okay. Okay, we'll get back to winter because I want to shift to that, but you mentioned a cat. So is it common for people to have pets there?
Yeah, I would say definitely common. Something that linking back to remote work is both, I have two cats and they are both special needs cats. So being able to work remotely really allows me to care for their needs. And we have amazing vets here in Portimao. And I've had nothing but an incredible experience with both of my special needs cats here. So yeah, pretty popular. I can hear dogs around me. I see in the summertime, the dogs aren't allowed on the beach, but in wintertime, when the dogs are able to go on the beach, I do see quite a couple of dogs out.
Okay. Oh, that's good info to know. Summertime, no dogs, but wintertime, it's okay. It's
Yeah,
allowed.
yeah.
Okay. And did you bring your cats from South Africa or you got them here?
No, I got them here. There's amazing shelters all around the Algarve, which are doing, and there's a Facebook group as well called Algarve Cat Rehoming. So if anyone's looking for to adopt a pet here, there's some really good resources.
Okay, great. And good vets as well, so everything is comfortable.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. And do you rent your apartment or you bought?
I rent my apartment.
And the landlord's fine with cats,
Yeah, he's all good with it.
which is seems to be common there to be able to find a place to rent that allows pets.
Um, I would say it's a little bit difficult for me to know if it's common for other people, but it wasn't too difficult for me personally.
Okay. It's kind of like how it is in Porto. It just depends on the landlord and maybe what kind of animal, if it's a really big dog or not, or if there's a garden and everything. So kind of just depends up here. Maybe it's about the same there.
Yeah, I think so. And I think because it's cats, it might be treated a little bit differently because they're fully indoors. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so summer's hot, but you love it. You love the heat. It's okay.
Yeah,
You know how to
love it.
manage. But you had air put in. Did you have air put in because it was like, okay, I don't want to live without air, or like what was? Oh, well, you said the cats. It was just mainly the
Yeah.
cats, but
It
you
was the
thought you
cat.
could.
Yeah, it was the cat, but also just, in the summer evenings, it can be really hot when you're trying to sleep. So we usually had just sleep with a sheet and the fan blowing. But installing the aircon allowed us to, not have to have the wind blowing all night. So yeah.
Okay, so definitely worth it.
Yeah, totally worth it.
Did you notice that during the summers then your bills went up because of it, or was it like a big jump, or it was?
Actually, not at all. I was expecting a huge jump, but I think with the newer technology and newer air cons, they've actually like learned to manage that pretty well. So I've had my air cons for about 4 months now, and I haven't actually seen a huge jump in my electricity bills, which I've been really impressed with.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it makes it totally worth it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
why
worth
not?
it. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so those are the summers. It gets quite busy. Maybe is it hard to get, I guess, reservations at a restaurant and that stuff, or you said it's pretty spread out, so it's doable?
Yeah, so it depends where in the Algarve you're looking at for restaurants. But I would say it's important to make a reservation just to make sure that you do have your spot there. But there's so many restaurants here in Portimão and so many along Praia de Rocha. So, if you're just walking around in the area, you'll probably be able to find yourself a spot for dinner or for lunch.
Okay. And do you have a car?
Yeah, I have a car here.
Would you say that it's a necessity to have a car?
Yes, I would say it's definitely a necessity to have a car here in the Algarve. There's so many amazing places that you can only reach by car because the public transport isn't going to take you that far, or it's going to be really a much long-winded way to get there. But yeah, a car, totally recommend. There's really amazing beaches that you can visit if you have a car.
And was getting your car an easy or hard process?
I would say it was pretty easy. I had purchased the car from a family friend.
Okay. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Connections then.
Yeah, I had a connection, yeah.
Because sometimes people will write me and be like, how do I get a car? And it's like, okay, I know a lot of people who do it through connections as well, as opposed to, I mean, going to like a lot or something and trying to get a used car or a new car. Seems a little more complicated, obviously. But if you know someone, then that makes it easy.
Yeah, makes it a lot easier for sure.
And then what was the process when you got the car to put it in your name and do anything like registration and stuff? What did you do in that aspect?
So my family friend really helped me out a lot with that because when I came here, I could barely speak any Portuguese. So I had them help me fill out all the paperwork. So yeah, I would say I'm maybe not the most knowledgeable on the actual transferring and what that process really looked like because I had someone help me.
Okay, but mainly just paperwork and submitting that, and then that was it.
Yeah.
Okay, but in Portuguese, how's your Portuguese going?
It's going okay, although in the Algarve, English is very widely spoken. I never really have any trouble, finding other people that speak English here and communicating with people in English. So yeah, it makes it a little bit more difficult to actually learn Portuguese when, everyone just reverts to English.
And then with your remote job, do you do everything in English as well?
Yeah, all
Yeah.
in English too.
Yeah. I mean, that's mainly the situation with me and Josh is that we work so much in English. So on a day-to-day basis, we're with each other, which is English, and then we work in English. So then although we're taking lessons currently, you go out and so many people speak English as well. So it's like it slows down the learning process, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think in the expat community, that's a pretty common situation where a lot of expats they're going to speak in a language that everyone can understand. So everyone's kind of just conversing in English. And yeah, I don't have the opportunity really to speak in Portuguese all that often.
So then when you go to a cafe, for example, do you start off in English? Like, is it just really common to just start speaking English, or do you ask them if they speak English, or how do you navigate that?
I will greet in Portuguese and then I will explain, like, I'm from South Africa. Is it okay if we speak English? And they usually take to that really well. But oftentimes they will just immediately speak to me in English and then we just continue in English. So yeah, I would say I've felt that English is much more widely spoken here in the Algarve than in other parts of Portugal.
Yeah, definitely. There was one time when we were visiting and I remember we went into like an English style pub because we wanted to watch soccer, and Josh said something in Portuguese and the bartender was like, I don't speak Portuguese, do you speak English? And Josh was like, I should have just thought, like, of course, like just go in English. But so that was really funny for us because we wouldn't get an experience like that in Porto. Although everyone, speaks English up here for the most part, the greeting is, generally first in Portuguese, and then you can ask to switch if you need to. But that was a funny one for sure. And that was down in the Algarve too. Okay, so I don't want to forget because we talked about summers, but some people are concerned that like stuff gets so sleepy and boring and dead in the winters. So what is the winters like in Portimão specifically?
Yeah, so the winters, in terms of weather, the weather is incredible in winters. There's barely any rain and it doesn't really get that cold. So you really have the whole of the Algarve to yourself, the whole of Portimão to yourself. There, I will say there is a dip in like the types of events that are being held just because there's not as many people around. But there is definitely still the digital nomad community, which hosts events, I think, every Saturday. As well as small events that pop up here and there. There's a lot of events over Christmas time for the kids, which is really beautiful. And yeah, it gets quieter, but if you prefer that more quiet, slower lifestyle, it's actually really enjoyable. And it really I look forward to it after a crazy busy summer. It's really amazing to have like a peaceful, relaxing winter where you have the whole town to yourself.
Okay, and when does it start slowing down like the crazy summers? Like what month would you say it's like you can see a noticeable difference?
September for sure.
September. Okay, so it slows down and then it picks back up in about what month?
I would say it picks up much more in May.
May. Okay. Okay, so that's a pretty good long time that it's a little quieter.
Yeah.
And then is it dead? Like do restaurants close like during like December, January?
Yeah, so some of the restaurants that are closer to the beach, they will close over the winter months, just because there's just not that many people. But there are restaurants that do stay open for the full year. I've never really had any issue with it, I would say. So
okay. Yeah. That's good. Because there was one time that this was a while ago, Josh and I went to a city in southern Spain over the Christmas time. And it was like, it was so dead. Like everything was closed. So there was like this one bar that we went to every day because it was open. So people can expect more than that to be open, especially in Portimão.
Yeah, especially in Portimão. It's one of the biggest cities in the Algarve. So you can definitely expect to have some options, some really great options here.
Okay, I want to talk about the different cities, like big and small, for those who want a different variety. But before that, question about winter, last question I think about winter, we'll see, maybe more will come up. But is it warm enough to go to the beach in the winter?
I enjoy walking on the beach in the winter, but the water here is quite cold. So I would say it's warm enough to sit on the beach and maybe catch a tan. But I wouldn't say it's warm enough to go for a swim. But I am from South Africa, so my standards of what's hot enough to swim might be really different to someone else. But yeah, the water is very beautiful in the winter as well.
Okay. But it's cold. The water is cold in the summer as well, too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just you have to, I guess, expect that there will be cold water, but you can still get a tan in the winter, which is amazing. We don't get that in Porto. So.
Yeah, and there's beautiful hikes that you can do and walks along the cliffs in the wintertime, which are even more beautiful because it becomes a lot more green. Usually in the summer, everything is very dry. We don't have a lot of rain here in the Algarve. So in wintertime, things become a lot more green. So there are things to keep you busy beyond just going to the beach as well.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that. So if someone doesn't have a car, but they live in Portimão, are they able to access these types of hikes? Or you really need a car to get you to the place and then you hike?
Yeah, so it depends really which kind of hikes that you're looking for. If you don't have a car and you're taking public transport, there's beautiful walks and hikes along the cliffs on the beaches, which you can access through public transport. But if you do have a car, you have access to a lot more options. We have the Monchique Mountains really close to us, so you can go a little bit more inland and have some really beautiful viewpoints from there as well.
Okay. And if someone's not interested in the beach or hiking, would you say stay away from Portimão then? Because that's mainly what it is and you'll get, like, that's just kind of the feel of the city?
Yeah, I would say for sure. If you enjoy festivals, we have amazing music festivals in the summer and they run all summer long. So if that's more your scene, there are some really great festivals that happen throughout the summer. But yeah.
Okay. So thinking about Algarve and just what you know and your knowledge of traveling around, what are some of the bigger cities in Algarve? So if someone wants to be that warm weather, they're okay with the people, but they want a little bit of like the city feel, not being like out in the middle of nowhere, what would be some cities you would recommend?
Yeah, so I would recommend Portimão, of course, and then Faro, which is, I believe, the biggest city in the Algarve. And Faro has their airport right there as well, so it's really accessible if you're coming from another part of the world. And I would also recommend Lagos. Lagos is a little bit smaller than Portimão, but it's really close to Portimão, and it's just a really beautiful, lively town. They have some great nightlife out there, and also some places that will stay open through the winter time.
Okay. And then if someone's looking for something that's not as big, but a little smaller, are there recommendations you would give of places that you like?
Yeah, I love Lagos. I also love there's a small town called Burgal, which is just past Praia de Luz. Praia de Luz is really beautiful as well. So kind of on that, I guess it's the western side of the Algarve is really beautiful.
Okay. Now you talked about Faro having the airport. So that's the airport I assume that you go to a lot, or do you need to go up to Lisbon?
Yeah, I just use Faro Airport.
And what does it give you? What access do you have to different places from Faro?
Yeah, so I have been able to travel pretty much over the whole of Europe from Faro. So been to it's very easy to get flights between Faro and the UK. So I've done that a couple of times. Greece, Italy, France, Spain. There's really a lot of international flights going out of Faro, and there's also flights domestic to Porto or to Lisbon pretty frequently as well.
And then when you go, have you been back to South Africa since you moved?
No, I haven't been back yet.
Okay, because that's a long way, right?
Yeah, that's a long way. For that, I will need to go to Lisbon first or
Okay,
to
so
Porto.
okay, and then you make your way, but I guess it's kind of well, really far, and then maybe a bit expensive as well.
Yeah, it's pretty far. It's pretty expensive, but it's always worth it to go see friends and family back home.
Yeah, I was actually recently looking into it just to see over like the Christmas break or next summer because we have friends there and we've been a couple times,
Amazing.
but our daughter, she's 4, we've not been with her. So, and we have friends who have kids, so it's like, oh, at some point we want to get down there. But yeah, it is, you have to think about, oh, it's far and then
Hmm.
pricey can be pricey, of course. But
Yeah,
okay, yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
It's a far way to travel, especially if you have a little one.
Yes, yeah, taking that into consideration. I guess when you travel, what do you do with your cats?
We have a cat sitter here,
Okay.
and they're pretty abundantly available here in the Algarve. There's a lot of people that work remotely, and they'll come into the Algarve, and they'll be staying here for a couple of months, and they make themselves available to do house sitting or pet sitting. There is also cat hotels and dog hotels available as well for people that prefer that option. Yeah.
How would someone get plugged into finding someone to take care of either their house or a pet?
Yeah, so I love the website trustedhousesitters.com. You can actually see reviews and you can have like a call with the person that you're looking to house sit. So I really enjoy that. But also if you join the Portimão Digital Nomads group, they have a really big WhatsApp community. You can just ask on there and people are so kind and so willing to help out.
Another question I get a lot about the Algarve is golfing. Do you golf?
I don't golf, but
Okay.
golfing is really big here.
Okay, I don't golf either. I'm very terrible at it, even little putt putt. But a lot of people want to move there because of golfing. So there's a lot of golf courses around you.
Yeah, there's loads of golf courses. I think some of the best even in the world. There is one or two putt-putt courses as well for anyone that's not so interested or not so great at golf. But yeah, there's beautiful golf courses all over the Algarve.
Okay. Have you had any friends or family come visit you and hosted them?
Yeah, I've had a good number of friends come visit me here in the Algarve.
And when friends come visit, what kinds of things do you do?
So mostly go to the beach, of course,
Yeah.
because that's everyone's favorite thing to do when they come here. Also, there's some beautiful wine farms here that we enjoy visiting. I take them around the different towns because the Algarve has the architecture in the Algarve is quite unique, and there's some really beautiful cultural aspects to see here that's specific to the Algarve. So yeah, we do a bunch of different things, also some festivals as well. really whatever they're feeling like, we can do.
Have you noticed that there's a general demographic, like age of who's there, or do you see all different types of ages?
The general age group here is there is a lot of people that come here for retirement. Some people that are of retirement age, and then also a lot of people with young families here, which is really amazing. I think the Algarve is a beautiful place to have a young family.
Okay, so it's quite a mix. Like you've got those who are retired and then also those with families and then younger singles as well? Or is there like a bit of a party scene or
In the summertime, yes, there is a party scene, but it's very much like, I would say, the tourists that are coming on holiday and people that are coming for vacation. But in terms of people that live here, there is a lot less of the younger single scene, I would say, than in other parts of the country. I think just based on work opportunities and universities, and I think younger people will tend to move more to a bigger city like Lisbon or Porto.
right, that makes sense. So a lot more of the party scene is for tourism. So
Yeah.
if someone didn't want to be in that, then they could just leave for probably the month of August, you would say, and to get away from that.
Yeah, I would say July and August to get away from that. But I mean, all of the party scene is quite uh, separated from the rest. So, in Praia de Rocha, it's like one big strip, and it's not much else happening beyond that strip. So, if you can just avoid that strip, if you're not interested in being there, then that's fine. In Lagos as well, it's a lot more concentrated to one area.
Okay, so that actually is kind of nice because if you want to get into it, then you can. But if you want to be out of
Yeah.
it, then you can as well. So it's not necessarily like all around you all the time during the summer.
Yeah, 100%. You could come here and never like see a party or never be involved in one at all.
Okay, well, that's really good to know because I think that sometimes scares people. They're like, I'm not into that. That's not my scene, or I'm too old for that, or whatever it might be. So they think, oh, I can't be in some of these cities because that might be all around me. But to know that you can not be in it is really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so would you say that definitely move to Portimão if this is the kind of lifestyle you want? Who would that person be? And then definitely don't move to Portimão if this is the lifestyle you want.
Yeah, I would say move to Portimão if you really enjoy being outdoors, being in nature. The weather here is incredible for, spending loads of time outdoors. Also move to Portimão if you enjoy like having hot weather, and definitely don't move to Portimão if you really don't enjoy hot weather, and don't move to Portimão, I would say, if you are you're looking to live in a place where there's loads of like networking opportunities and loads of career opportunities and career related events. I would say that's not really very prevalent in Portimão. I would also say not to move to Portimão if, yeah, that's all actually.
Yeah. Okay, good. Any advice that you would give for an expat who wants to move to Portugal? Like, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I would tell them to get started on their visa or immigration like documents as soon as possible, because CEF or Aimee here can be a bit of a bureaucratic difficulty. And keep that in mind. Do like prepare yourself that you may have a bit of a waiting time in terms of that, and it may not go as smoothly as you might expect for it to go. So always keep that in mind. Other tips that I would have is to, learn to enjoy the culture of the Portuguese and learn to speak a little bit of Portuguese just to get yourself by, and to integrate a lot more with the culture and with the people here. There are some really lovely, warm, kind people. So you can expect to enjoy time that you spend interacting with local people. Yeah.
Okay, so you're able to mingle with locals. So there's Portuguese in Portimão, and then what other nationalities do you see that are down there?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people from the UK here, which I think is why English is so widely spoken here in the Algarve. A lot of people retiring from the UK will come to Portugal. So there's a lot of people from the UK, a lot of people from Germany as well. I've met a few French people as well. Yeah, I would say mostly from other parts of Europe. Yeah.
So far less Americans because everyone's like, oh, all these Americans are moving to Portugal, but I guess not to Portimão.
Yeah, I really haven't interacted with that many Americans here in the Algarve. There's one or two that I've interacted with, but it's not a very big base here.
And South Africans?
Yeah, there's a lot of South Africans here. It's quite a big South African, place to live.
And do you think that a lot of South Africans have moved because of the really similar reasons to you, safety, but then wanting to find a place that has similar weather? Is that generally what causes a lot of South Africans to move?
Yeah, definitely the combination of those two, finding a place where the weather is still really good, where it's really safe. And we also have a really big Portuguese community in South Africa, like people that have had their grandparents that moved to South Africa from Portugal. So I think that heritage connection is the reason for a lot of South Africans moving here. Yeah.
Does that make the visa process any easier if it's a grandparent?
Yeah, if it's a grandparent, you can get your citizenship through heritage like that. But if not, maybe you have like family reunification with a partner, or you get a work visa or other aspects to that.
Yeah. Or you can work remote, right? So
Yeah.
you help those who want to work remote, and then you know the ideas of like what kind of visas you need for that and everything. So if someone wants to come to you to find a job, you also have advice on what kind of visa they would need if they want to move to Portugal.
Yes, but I don't make any promises or any. I'm not a global mobility expert, so I can kind of lead towards the correct information and provide resources that I've seen, but I don't want to make any promises or legal
Okay.
obligations.
Yeah. So you don't give advice. You can send people back to us for that because we do that.
Yeah.
So those who want to do like the D8, the remote worker visa, we assist with that. And we have an online DIY course and everything. So if you come across anyone who you help them get the job or you help assist with the remote work side of things, and then they need help with the visa side of things, you can send them back to us.
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right. Well, at Expats Everywhere, we believe that living abroad transforms life. So how has living abroad transformed your life?
Oh my gosh, in so many different ways. It's really like changed the way that I see the world. So before I grew up in South Africa and I lived in South Africa my whole life. So moving abroad has really like expanded my horizons. It's given me the opportunity to travel so much more than I could when I was back in South Africa, because South Africa is really far and it's really difficult to travel from there. I've learned about so many different cultures and met so many different people. Being an expat and being involved in like an expat digital nomad community, you really get exposed to so many different walks of life, and I really enjoy that. Yeah, it's also taught me that Seth and Aimee have taught me patience.
Of
They've
course.
definitely taught me patience. It's a difficult process trying to work with the immigration and the bureaucracy, but it's so worth it, and it's so the lifestyle that you get to live here in Portugal is makes the wait and makes those little inconveniences a lot more manageable and a lot more bearable. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Aimee, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing here at the podcast.
Thank you.